Good morning, my dear students. Today we will be studying the second chapter of First Flight, that is Nelson Mandela Long Walk to Freedom. Long Walk to Freedom is a book written by Nelson Mandela himself, whose full name is Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela. The day was symbolized for me by the playing of our two national anthems. One was the anthem of blacks and one was the of whites. And the vision of whites singing Nkosi Sikelel I Africa and blacks singing Die Stem, the old anthem of the Republic. Although that day neither group knew the lyrics of the anthem they once despised, they would soon know the words by heart. The author remembers the day as the playing of two national anthems of the country, one of the whites and the other that of the blacks. On that day, no one knew the wordings of the anthem of the blacks, but Mandela was confident, he was very sure that everyone would soon learn this anthem that they once hated. On that day of the inauguration, I was overwhelmed with a sense of history. In the first decade of the 20th century, a few years after the bitter Anglo-Boer War, I have already told you the meaning of Anglo-Boer, told you what is Anglo-Boer War, and before my own birth, the white-skinned peoples of South Africa patched up their differences and erected a system of racial domination against the dark-skinned peoples of their own land. The structure they created formed the basis of one of the harshest, most inhuman societies the world has ever known. Now, in the last decade of the 20th century and my own eighth decade as a man, that system had been overturned forever and replaced by one that recognized the rights and freedoms of all peoples regardless of the colors of their skin. So, on the inaugural ceremony, Nelson Mandela was remembering the days of his past when this whole system of apartheid came into being. It was not during the time of Nelson Mandela, but it was far before it was born. So he was just remembering the time when whole of this system came into being. It resulted how it came. It resulted in inequality and inferior treatment of dark-skinned people. They were deprived of their basic fundamental rights. As a result, one of the world's most brutal and inhumane society was born. Blacks were treated like animals by the whites. So that is why he has called it a most inhuman society. This began even before he was born. This system created an atmosphere of extreme cruelty and injustice for a particular part of the community. That means particular part of the community means for the black people. Now, when he is in his eighth decade as a man, he, along with countless others, have changed this entire system that treats humans as humans, irrespective of their caste, gender, or age. That day had come about through the unimaginable sacrifices of thousands of my people, people whose suffering and courage can never be counted or repaid. I felt that day, as I have on so many other days, that I was simply the sum of all those African patriots who had gone before me. That long and noble line ended and now began again with me. I was pained that I was not able to thank them and that they were not able to see what their sacrifices had wrought. This equal and free country was a result of sacrifices of countless other men and women who have fought all their lives for this day. The author wishes if he could thank them all, but unfortunately, they didn't live to see the result of their courage. Nelson Mandela gathered his courage and power from all these people and thus wishes to make them proud. The policy of apartheid created a deep and lasting wound in my country and my people. All of us will spend many years, if not generations, recovering from that profound hurt. But the decades of oppression and brutality had another unintended effect, and that was that it produced the Oliver Tambos, the Walter Sissulis, the Chief Luthulus, the Yusuf Daudus, the Bram Fishers, the Robert Sobequis of our time. Men of such extraordinary courage, wisdom, and generosity that their like may never be known again. Perhaps it requires such depth of operation to create such heights of character. My country is rich in the minerals and gems that lie beneath its soil, but I have always known that its greatest wealth is its people, finer and truer than the purest diamond. As all of you know that South Africa is famous for diamonds, but Nelson Mandela considered his people, any country's people are its greatest resource, and same is considered by Nelson Mandela. This equal and free country, the operation policy scared many people, and it will take a long time for them to move on. The kind of suppression they have faced, it is really very difficult to forget that. It will take long time to overcome those problems, to forget those problems. The author mentions that this hard time has its negative impact, but it also exposed a lot of strong and courageous men who stood up and raised their voice. He has mentioned their names. Thus, it required that level of unjust treatment to produce such great heroes. South Africa, he says, is rich in minerals and gems, but its greatest strength lies in its people. They are the true diamonds. When the people are oppressed, the great leaders are born, according to Nelson. It is from these comrades in the struggle that I learned the meaning of courage. Time and again, I have seen men and women risk and give their lives for an idea. I have seen men stand up to attacks and torture without breaking, showing a strength and resilience that defies the imagination. I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear. So, comrades means a colleague or a fellow member of an organization. Resilience means the ability to deal with any kind of hardship and recover from its effects. Nelson Mandela gained his strength to stand against the wrong from all the great nationalists he mentioned above, who have even risked their lives for freedom and tolerated ill treatment but never stopped fighting. He learned that courage didn't mean the absence of fear, but the ability to overcome fear. The man who overcomes his fear is called brave. So many of you also, my dear children, you think that if you don't fear anybody, that means you are very courageous. But according to Nelson Mandela, it is not true. The real courage comes when you overcome any of your fear. It's not that you are not fearful. If you overcome your fear, that is the true courage. Yet truly you are brave. No one is born hating another person because of the color of his skin or his background or his religion. So when you were born, you didn't know you have to hate a particular person who belongs to a particular community, a particular religion, particular background, or because of his color. It is the society who teaches us all these things. People must learn to hate, and if they can learn to hate, they can be taught to love. For love comes more naturally to the human heart than its opposite. Even in the grimmest time in prison, when my comrades and I were pushed to our limits, I would see a glimmer of humanity in one of the guards, perhaps just for a second, but it was enough to reassure me and keep me going. Man's goodness is a flame that can be hidden but never extinguished. So one is taught by its society to hate humans because of their skin, color, age, gender, and religion. So when you were small, when you were born, you were too small to know the things. You didn't know that you have to hate a particular person. But as you grew up, the society taught you to do that. No one is inborn with hatreds. So nobody is born with an hatred that he has to hate a particular community or a particular person of color, color or skin or age, etc. The author's idea is that if people can be taught hatred, they can also be taught love and brotherhood. In their most testing times in prison, when they were being treated brutally, Mandela would see a pinch of humanity and kindness in one of the guards, and that was enough to keep him going. He believes that goodness in human being can be suppressed but never be eliminated. You can make a person to hate anybody, but you cannot eliminate. That means you cannot build hatred. You cannot eliminate the love inside him, the humanity inside him. In life, every man has twin obligations: obligation to his family, to his parents, to his wife, and children. And he has an obligation to his people, his community, his country. In a civil and humane society, each man is able to fulfill those obligations according to his own inclinations and abilities. But in a country like South Africa, it was almost impossible for a man of my birth and color to fulfill both of these obligations. In South Africa, a man of color who attempted to live as a human being was punished and isolated. In South Africa, a man who tried to fulfill his duty to his people was inevitably ripped from his family and his home and was forced to live a life apart. That means if you are fighting for the black people, you were given punishment, you were not allowed to stay with your family, you are being isolated, a twilight existence of secrecy and rebellion. I did not in the beginning choose to place my people above my family, but in attempting to serve my people, I found that I was prevented from fulfilling my obligations as a son, a brother, a father, and a husband. According to the author, every human being has its responsibility towards the family and as well as the society. Generally, under normal circumstances, a person can maintain the balance between the two. But in countries like South Africa, it was never so easy. When a person of color would come up for his society, he would be arrested and taken away from his family, thus keeping them from fulfilling both responsibilities. In the beginning, Mandela did not put his people over his family, but it was only later when he realized that in order to be there, that means to fight for the people, he had to give up his family. He was compromising his duties towards his own family. I was not born with a hunger to be free. I was born free. Free in every way that I could know. Free to run in the fields near my mother's hut. Free to swim in the clear stream that ran through my village. Free to roast meals under the stars and ride the broad backs of slow moving bulls. As long as I obeyed my father and abided by the customs of my tribe, I was not troubled by the laws of man or God. It was only when I began to learn that my boyhood freedom was an illusion, when I discovered as a young man that my freedom had already been taken from me. So when he was small, he was unaware of the policy going on in South Africa, the apartheid policy going on in South Africa. When he grew up, when he realized that, he started his fight against apartheid. Young man, that my freedom had already been taken from me, that I began to hunger for it. At first, as a student, I wanted freedom only for myself. So you two people are students, so you too want these things, that nobody should stop you. Whenever you feel like study, you study. Whenever you feel like go out, you should be allowed to. Whenever you feel like playing games in the mobile, you are allowed to. So in the same way, Mandela also used to think so. At first, as a student, I wanted freedom only for myself. The transitory freedoms of being able to stay out at night. Transitory means that doesn't remain permanent. Read what I pleased and go where I chose. Later, as a young man in Johannesburg, I yearned for the basic and honorable freedoms of achieving my potential, of earning my keep, of marrying and having a family, the freedom not to be obstructed in a lawful life. The author did not have the plan to start against the apartheid system. Early in his life, I told you when he was a child, he was unaware of all these things. He lived his childhood like any normal child in South Africa. He only had to follow the rules set up by his father or the customs of his tribe. As soon as he grew up and began to learn the fact as to how people of color are treated, he decided to stand against it. He had this urge for freedom from inside, earlier just for himself, and later for having a basic life not just for himself but for everyone, each and every black people. In Johannesburg, they had to struggle for having a peaceful marriage, family, and basic amenities which everyone has access to where law and order exist. But then I slowly saw that not only was I not free, but my brothers and sisters were not free. I saw that it was not just my freedom that was cut short. Curtailed means cut short, but the freedom of everyone who looked like I did. That is when I joined the African National Congress, that is ANC. And that is when the hunger for my own freedom became the greater hunger for the freedom of my people. It was this desire for the freedom of my people to live their lives with dignity and self respect that animated my life, that transformed a frightened young man into a bold one, that drove a law abiding attorney to become a criminal, that turned a family loving husband into a man without a home, that forced a life loving man to live like a monk. I am no more virtuous or self sacrificing than the next man, but I found that I could not even enjoy the poor and limited freedoms I was allowed when I knew my people were not free. Freedom is indivisible. The chains on any one of my people were the chains on all of them. The chains on all my people were the chains on me. That means he didn't think about himself only. He wanted freedom for each and every black people of South Africa. Nelson Mandela joined the African National Congress when he realized it is not only him whose basic rights were snatched away, but of all those who looked like him. That means all the black people, they looked like him, the same color of his skin. He had this fire inside him to free his people from the injustice. It was this fire that changed the author completely as a man from being sacred to brave, a lawyer to the one breaking the law, a family man to to a man without a home, and a lively man into being a monk. Monk means the Buddhist monks, the sadhus. It was the knowledge that he and his people have restricted freedom that made him into a selfless man as opposed to before. He started living a life of a saint. He gave up a family life. According to him, freedom cannot be divided. Snatching it away from some was equivalent to taking it away from everyone, and that meant taking it away from the author. Prejudice means a strong dislike for another person. He mentions that the need to free the oppressor is as high as that of the oppressed because the oppressor is bounded by the shackles of hatred. So if you are giving trouble to anybody, that that means somehow you are oppressed by the hatred. You are having that hatred. You have that guilt feeling of hatred. So when you are oppressing anybody or troubling anybody, that means you are also oppressed by the hatred. He has the weight of all the people who he has tormented, or he carries the curses of all of their families. For taking away someone else's freedom and making them a prisoner, he became a prisoner of biasness. Thus, he is robbed of his humanity and need to be freed. That means the one who is oppressing the other. What he is doing, he is taking the curse of the family members of the other one, right? He is taking, by taking away the freedom of somebody else, he is making himself a prisoner of hatred. So not only the one who is oppressed, but the one, not only the one who is oppressed, but the one who is oppressing the other one, both should be freed. One should be given freedom, one should be given freedom from hatred. So according to Nelson Mandela, both suffer. The oppressor also suffers, and the one who is oppressed is also suffered. So both has to be free. So thank you, my dear children, for bearing with me. The slide has become little long.